Is fast approaching, but before you head out and spend all your money on a new iPod for Nan, it's worth keeping in mind that Australia's economic outlook isn't all that rosy.
So here's the dealio. The Reserve Bank today cut the interest rate by 25 basis points to 3%. That's the same emergency level it reached during the GFC. On top of that, some economists are predicting a further cut when the RBA next meets in February, taking rates to a record low.
People know that the only reason the Reserve Bank is cutting is because it is concerned about the Australian economy.
There's been 1.5% shaved off interest rates since November last year, and you'd think that people would have more disposable income and therefore spend more money.
But it's not working. Retail figures are actually flat. In fact, they've only gone up by 3.1% this year. Do you have these in blue? It's not what you think. They're for Will Anderson. It's not what you think. He's a cross-dresser.
It's a good thing from a personal point of view, but from an economic standpoint, it means less spending and therefore less retail sales.
In the housing sector, it's the same story. House prices are either flat or slowly deflating as they are in Melbourne. So now some aren't buying houses because they want to see if house prices will drop further. And those already with a mortgage are paying off massive debt on a stagnant or depreciating asset.
And if you're worried about the economy and worried about your own job, then buying a large expensive house is probably the furthest thing from your mind.
Further, unemployment is on the rise, with some economists predicting it to rise to 6% over the next 12 months.
If you were a contracted employee or a casual employee, then you probably ought to be a bit cautious, because if there is a downturn, you're the first one who's going to get the whack.
And finally, you've probably heard about the two-speed economy, the fast mining economy, which has been going nuts in WA, and the slow economy, which involves just about everything else in Australia. Well, many economists and even the government expect the mining boom to peak next year, which could hit Australia harder than anything else.
Australia has escaped the carnage, economically speaking, around the world, but I must say I just wonder how long that can go on for.
Leith Van Onselen is an economist and joins us now. Leith, should people be worried? What advice would you have for them as they head into Christmas?
Yeah, certainly, Charlie. I do think people should be quite vigilant at the moment. The non-mining economy is certainly weakening, whether it's from retail through to housing. And my advice to people would be not to borrow too much going into Christmas and only spend what they can afford.
I'm not sure that's going to cut it with my son, Leith. I think he wants some good Christmas presents.
Yeah, well, maybe just get him the little poppy plastic wrap or something like that. That seems to work well with my son. I'm a little bit tight.
Leith, can I ask about the interest rate cut today? Do you think that'll help with consumer confidence?
Yeah, I think it will help on the margin. Consumer confidence has picked up a little bit over the past few months. That said, it is only marginally above where it was this time last year when the Reserve Bank first started cutting interest rates. The problem is, with all the negative economic news at the moment, consumers aren't likely to go on a spending binge again, and it will be fairly subdued.
Now, normally an interest rate cut is great news, but I was reading something this morning that said that if rates go down, then insurance premiums go up. Why is that?
Yeah, that's a bit of a hard one. I only read that one myself this morning for the first time. I think the reason would be because insurance companies generally reinvest their insurance premiums into the banking sector or into fixed interest. And if interest rates fall, well, then they earn a lower return on those funds invested, which means they have to recover it elsewhere, say through higher premiums.
Now, if the mining boom peaks and then starts some downward slide that they've been predicting next year, how's that going to impact the average Aussie?
It'll impact them primarily through both the employment market and lower incomes. The mining sector has underpinned a lot of jobs growth in the last 5 years. It has accounted for about 20% of all jobs created.
Leith, could the mining boom be replaced with something else? Maybe a stand-up comedy boom?
Well, I'm not sure about the stand-up comedy boom, although I do love your work. But the Reserve Bank is hoping that the housing sector can replace the mining boom as it unwinds. I think they're a little bit wishful in their thinking.
Yeah, maybe we'll just have to get together and invent the next Google. Anyway, Leith, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I love his work too.